Christmas! We want Creepmas! Creepmas is coming, and this year I have something so special for you guys. Creepmas cards! These are sold in packs of 5. If you know someone that deserves a Creepmas card, I guess you could give one away, but I'd rather just use them to decorate my fireplace mantle, or refrigerator, or workspace. They are exclusively available on eBay. Be awesome! Click the link!
Welcome, Super Horror family. I see you found your way here to listen. This might be a mistake, but I'm not surprised. People are always drawn to what they're told to avoid. Curiosity, it's a dangerous thing. Some say scarecrows are just empty things, a bit of straw and cloth meant to frighten away crows. But I'll let you in on a little secret. A scarecrow is never truly empty. Each one stands as a silent watcher in the fields, where the lines of corn stretch on like the bars of a cage. We're here to see what others miss, to guard against those who take what isn't theirs. And every scarecrow, every last one of us, holds a piece of life. Just enough to notice. Just enough to watch. And some of us, well, some of us are waiting for a reason to do more than just watch. Deputy Whitman sits across from Jake, his face calm, but with an undercurrent of urgency. He taps his pen lightly against his notebook before looking directly at Jake. Jake, I've called your parents. They're on their way in now. But right now I need your help finding Lawrence. You know his mom called me. It's how I found you guys. Now here's the thing. You and I both know there's a big difference between a joke that went too far and someone getting hurt on purpose. If this was just a prank that got out of hand, cooperating will make that clear. Help me understand what happened out there, and we can work on making this right. Jake's eyes searched the room. So, earlier today, we were in gym class just hanging out, me and Mark and Carrie. You know, just the usual stuff. Nothing out of the ordinary. And, that's when he came to us. Lawrence, I mean. He was all hyped up talking about how Halloween's coming up and we should go check out the cornfield, for some, Halloween fun. Jake shrugs, as if trying to make it all sound casual. He kept pushing it, saying it'd be a good time, like a little adventure or something. We didn't take it too seriously at first, but later, we all just figured, why not? So we met up like we planned. I mean, it was just supposed to be some harmless fun. Just a group of us hanging out. We went into the cornfield together. Just messing around, talking, laughing. It was pretty dark, so we were staying close, trying to keep track of each other. I think we might have heard some sounds, maybe the wind or an animal. Something like that. And I thought I saw something move, but it was probably just shadows. Then, at some point, we got separated. He must have been doing something. Maybe he was trying to freak us out. I don't know, hiding or something. But we lost track of him. We figured he'd be fine. Probably just messing around or trying to pull some prank. We looked around for a bit, but didn't see him. I don't know where he went after that. It's not like we did anything wrong. We were just there to have a little fun. And he was all into it too, so I don't know what else to tell you. Mark, let's start with Lawrence. Do you have any idea where he went? Mark shifted uncomfortably. No, I don't know where Lawrence is, but have you found Bobby? Whitman pauses, his gaze narrowing slightly. Bobby? No one said anything about Bobby. Was he with you guys? Yeah, well, not really. I just can't. Mark, you know we'll do everything we can for Bobby and Lawrence. It would help us a lot if you told us what happened. Mark looked down, his fingers nervously fidgeting. I don't think you're gonna find them. It happened so fast. Bobby, he was already out there before we even got to the cornfield. Jake and Carrie and me would pretend that we were scared to get Lawrence really hyped up, and then Bobby would jump out and scare Lawrence. It's just a prank. Mark hesitates, glancing up at Deputy Whitman, as if looking for some sign of understanding. I don't know, maybe it sounds stupid, but it felt different in there, like the corn was, I don't know, too tall. After a while, Lawrence didn't know it, but we started looking for Bobby, because he should have shown up already. And then we started hearing these sounds. It could have been anything, I guess, but they didn't sound normal. I don't know what happened to them. We split up. It's like they were just gone. Carrie, your parents are going to be here soon. I know this is hard, but I need you to help me understand what happened out there. Mark mentioned Bobby and Lawrence. Carrie looked away, tears welling up as she took a deep breath. I didn't see Bobby at all. And Lawrence? Carrie's voice just stopped as tears streamed down her face. It's okay, Carrie. Take your time. Just tell me what happened from the beginning. She wiped her eyes and nodded, pulling herself together. We picked up Lawrence first. He just wanted to fit in. He wanted to be cool. I think that's why he agreed to come with us. He's not normally into these stories about the cornfield being haunted. It was already dark when we got to the cornfield. I was scared from the start, and Lawrence noticed. He tried to make me feel better. He's a nice guy like that. I'm pretty sure he has a crush on me. Her voice softened as a hint of guilt flickered in her eyes. She took a shaky breath before pressing on. We went in, and right away it felt wrong, like something was watching us. I tried to ignore it, but it was like this feeling just wouldn't go away. Jake noticed I was freaking out, so he told Mark to keep Lawrence distracted for a minute so he could talk to me. He said what I was feeling was just because Bobby was out there, stalking us to make the prank scarier. I tried to believe him, but I still hadn't seen Bobby at all. None of us had. Then Jake got this idea to split up. Me with Lawrence and him with Mark. He said it'd make it easier for Bobby to, come up and surprise us. I think he knew Lawrence wouldn't argue because him and I were in a group together. Carrie glances down, visibly trembling. Lawrence and I started walking, but then I saw it. There was a clearing and a scarecrow just hanging there. Maybe it was Jake trying to scare us. I just wanted him to scare so we could go home, so I got closer. But it wasn't Jake. Its chest and stomach, it was all ripped up, like it had been torn apart or something. Then Lawrence came over, and the scarecrow jumped down. It started running after us. We both took off, but it was so fast, I didn't look back. That was the last time I saw Lawrence. There's Deputy Whitman, trying to piece together the shards of stories, trying to make sense of things he'll never truly understand. He's a good man, but sometimes good intentions only go so far in a field that keeps its secrets close. I told you, didn't I? I told you we were more than just straw and cloth. We watch and we wait. Deputy Whitman may think he can find the truth, but not every story has an ending you can understand. Some are just best left alone. So remember, next time you see one of us, standing out there in the fields, don't get too close. And don't forget your manners, because we're always watching, waiting, just in case someone gives us a reason to come alive. Until next time, stay spooky, stay safe, and most importantly, take good care of yourself. The room was dark and empty, a spare room that I hadn't had the chance to do anything with. The electricity had gone out sometime earlier that night, so I had no way to tell the time and no source of light except for the flashlight in my hand, my lighter, and the candle I had brought just in case. I was sitting with my back in the far corner of the room, flashlight pointed straight at the door on the other side. The light danced on the wall across from me as my hand shook, terrified, although I had no idea what had been stalking me that day. I didn't have a car, so I biked, carrying groceries in 2 plastic bags in a crate hooked up to the back of my bike. When I got home, I noticed that I was missing a bag of groceries. It must have fallen off when I was riding home. Thinking it nothing more than unfortunate luck, I picked up the 1 bag and headed inside. After all, I could do without canned goods for a few days. I opened the door and almost immediately tripped on something piled up in front of the door, just inside the house. The groceries from the bag I was holding flew into the air and scattered as they hit the ground. When I looked back to see what I tripped on, there was a sloppy pile of canned food. Since I never locked my door, I simply dismissed it as a good Samaritan act from a neighbor that perhaps was too busy to stop and chat. I picked up all the food and stowed it away in the kitchen. It was getting late, so I headed upstairs to my bedroom, got a book, flipped the switch on the bedside lamp, and entrenched myself in a good story. As the night went on, I started to hear weird noises coming from downstairs in the kitchen. I told myself it was just my imagination, because every time I would notice the sounds, they would stop. And when I went back to the story, they would pick up again. My imagination would do that to me from time to time. Before I was able to finish my chapter, the lamplight flickered out. I put my book down, still open to save my spot, and I went to turn on the main light. Unfortunately, it didn't come on either. The power was out. As I prepared to reset the circuit breaker, the noises from downstairs started again. It sounded like someone rummaging around in my kitchen. I grabbed a flashlight from the nightstand drawer, a bat from beneath the bed, and headed downstairs, the creaking steps giving away my position. When I got to the kitchen, the noises stopped. Bat ready, I pointed my flashlight all around to see where the intruder was, but saw no one. What I did see was the canned food I'd recently put away was stacked neatly in a pyramid just beneath the kitchen table. I swallowed hard, thinking someone must be playing some prank or some sick twisted game. Slowly I crept towards the table, feet wet from milk that had spilled on the floor. When I got closer to the table, I could hear breathing coming from beneath it. I stooped down to look, but saw nothing. Slowly, I reached out to touch the pyramid of cans. As my hands made contact, the cans scattered. It was as if something burst through them, scattering them in all directions. I fell back on the soaked floor and dropped the flashlight. As I frantically grasped for the flashlight, I heard the sound of feet splashing through the puddles on the floor and running out of my kitchen. I got up and slowly followed the footprints made from the spilt milk. What struck me as odd was that they weren't human footprints. They were the same width and length, but the toes were much longer, almost as long as fingers. I followed them to the front door, where they disappeared. I relaxed a little, just thankful that whatever it was gone, but I didn't loosen my grip on the bat. Slowly I walked backwards towards the stairs again, planning on locking myself up in my room and waiting till morning. As I did, it sounded like something wet hit the wooden floor in front of me. I pointed my flashlight down at the floor and my heart stopped. There was a new footprint. This one pointed at me. I took another step back and heard another wet slap. Another footprint. I turned and ran, tripping up the stairs but making it up to my room. I slammed the door shut and locked it and pushed the bed up against it, knocking my book down in the process. I set the bat down on the bed for a second and grabbed the lighter and candle out of my nightstand, just in case. That's when I heard the first creak. Whatever it was mounting the first step in the staircase. Frantically, I ran to the opposite side of the room, where there was a door that led to a spare room. Upon hearing the second step creak, I threw open the door, which didn't have a lock, ran inside, and headed to the far corner. I sat there quietly, breathing heavily, heart pounding in my ears. I realized that I left my bat on the bed, but was convinced by the creaking of the third and fourth step that it wasn't worth going to get it. I sat there, counting the steps as they creaked. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was getting closer. My hand shook as a tear ran down my cheek. What was going on? That's 15. I tried to control my breathing. After all, I was trying not to be found. My heart pounded louder, sweat flattened my hair to my head, and the shaking became worse. My knuckles were white as I clenched the flashlight, whose beam was now dancing all over the wall, rarely even landing on the door. It had reached the second floor. Slowly the footsteps got closer as it approached my room. I heard the lock turn and the door creak open. The bed scraped across the floor. I heard the bat rattle against the wood as it fell off the bed. And still, the footsteps continued. Pages turned as whatever it was picked up the book that I was reading and started to look through it. Then came a thud as it dropped it. It began to rummage through my drawers and my sheets as if looking for something. Then everything went still and quiet. The silence was only broken by my heavy breathing and the pounding of my heart. It stayed like this for a few minutes. Then the footsteps continued. It was getting closer to the spare room. The door slowly creaked open. Lingering ajar momentarily. My heart was ready to leap out of my chest. My mouth was dry, and sweat stuck my clothes to my skin. This was it, I thought. As I waited for something to come into the room, nothing happened. Again came the excruciating silence, this time lasting for what felt like hours. Nothing happened, and I was starting to believe that whatever it was had lost interest and left. Still, I sat in my corner, flashlight trained on the door opposite me. I slowly returned to a calmer state of mind. After God knows how long, my flashlight flickered out, leaving me in complete darkness. Frantically, I reached for the lighter and flicked it on. My gaze shot towards the door. Still nothing. I looked around the room. Nothing. Slowly, I got up and crossed the room to the door. I closed it and sat with my back against it, just in case. Still, the silence reigned. Finally, I let out a sigh of relief. It was gone. I went to flip the light switch, but still the power was out. So I lit the candle instead. And that's when I became aware of something standing in the opposite corner of the room. My heart froze in my chest, and my lungs refused to work. It couldn't have been there before. I was just in that corner, but it was there, now. In a frenzy to get up and run, I knocked over the candle and it went out. I gripped the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. It was stuck, locked inside with God knows what. I searched the floor for the lighter and flicked it on. I looked around, but the being was gone. Again, I was alone. Breathing heavily, I found the candle, all the while keeping my gaze on that far corner where it had been just moments earlier. Once I brought the lighter to the wick, and life was breathed into the candle, it reappeared. The candle gave it away. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But its feet, flat, long, and bony, those are the feet that would leave the tracks downstairs. Its body was built the same way, abnormally skinny, just skin wrapped with bone. And it was short too, like a child. Its knobbly arms were just long enough that its long, skinny fingers could reach the ground as it stood straight up. Its clothing looked like ancient rags. It was bald, pale, and had no ears or nose that I could see. The mouth was thin and lacked proportion, much like the rest of its body. And the eyes were round and lifeless, black orbs that simply reflected the candlelight. As I stared at its eyes, they seemed to calm me. My heart rate slowed, my breathing steadied, and the urge to run faded away. Something about its eyes kept me gazing into them, unable to move, not wanting to, even if I could. I could feel its gaze drawing me in, as I was overcome with the feeling that I belonged with it. It stepped forward, slowly putting one foot in front of the other, dragging its fingers across the ground. It came right up next to me, its gaze never leaving mine, as I stared down at it and it up at me. It slowly raised one arm, holding out its long, thin hand. Its fingers were about twice the size as mine, and I knew normally this would be something to be afraid of. But as I gazed into the light reflected off its eyes, I began to forget my name, my past, and myself. I took its hand, and it took the candle from me. It started leading me out the door, down the stairs, and out into the yard. Together, we walked up to the edge of the forest, the candle lighting our path. I stopped at the edge of the woods and looked back at my home. Even though the creature hardly moved, I could feel it tugging me, urging me to continue. I looked into its eyes, and all of the worries were gone. We took one step into the woods, and I watched as the creature blew out the candle.
It's time for another story.
As a senior in high school, I loved babysitting. Getting paid to be nice to a kid, make them some food, and put on their favorite show was easy. Babysitting at night was even better. Kids go to bed, and as long as nothing crazy happens, I would have time to study, watch TV, or talk to my friends. No. You can't come here. I'm working. I mean it, Michael. You better not come here. The baby's crying. I gotta go. The baby seemed fine. She was just laying there asleep. I checked her diaper. She was clean. Whatever was bothering her must have stopped. Is there another baby here? I start following the crying sound. It sounds like it's coming from the parents' room. Hello? Is there a baby in here? For a moment, I stopped moving. I stopped breathing. I just listened. I hear nothing, but something feels wrong. I take Samantha with me to the living room and start thinking about the crying I heard earlier. Maybe I heard a neighbor's baby cry? Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello?
Hello? That's my voice. I wanted to call someone, anyone, but what would I say? What if I called the police and they came here and there was nothing? I decided I needed to turn on the lights. No! You can't come here. I mean it.
I mean it. I mean it.
You better not come
I
here.
mean it. I mean it. You can't come here. I mean it.
The moment the light switch was flicked on, the voice stopped. I sat back down on the sofa, but I couldn't relax. I just kept staring at the hallway. I've spoken to a few close friends about what happened that night. Some say I was just hearing things. Others say there must have been some kind of time slip, and I was hearing things that happened in that house. And a few say something was trying to bait me into trying to find it. I don't know what it was, but I never babysat for that family again.